F4, right? Zane. All right. Hi, guys. Can you guys hear us? If you can, could you type in the chat? Let's see whether you guys can hear us. Hello, hello. Yeah, excellent, excellent. So today it is actually our 71 times WordPress meetup in Hong Kong. And luckily I have Henry with me physically just next to me. Normally we do Zoom, but he got a trip to Hong Kong. So if sometimes you in when you're leaving in the next 2 weeks, right? Or you're staying longer?
Leaving this Friday.
You're leaving this Friday.
Yeah.
Wow. So it's lucky to have you here. So today we are going to talk about 5 steps to speed up your WordPress site. So by speeding up the WordPress website, it is good for the user, for the conversion, as well as for the SEO, because Google like the website which is faster. And a little bit background about Henry. I'm sure a lot of you already seen him a few times in the meetup. He's a multi-million e-commerce website owner, and he actually share a lot of his wisdom and the experience and the technology, how he reached that point. So he's not just a e-shop owner, he's also a marketer and a trainer with experience and his passion about this area. So let me just share his slide and he can get started. All right. Do you want to make this slightly bigger? All right. Okay, let me move that up. Is that big enough for you? Or,
Yeah,
I'll try to move it slightly like that. Okay, all yours.
Okay. So this is sharing the slides now, is it?
Yeah, I think so. You guys can see the slide. If you could you type in the chat the slide? That is suppose this is. Yep, slide. Okay. Thanks, Stephen. Okay. Oh, yes.
Okay, awesome. Hi everyone. So my name is Henry. I have spoken in the WordPress Hong Kong meetup before, and today I'm going to be talking about fun simple 5 steps, right, that you can use to speed up your WordPress website. And a little bit of background about myself. I am very passionate about WordPress and WooCommerce, right? Because I would say that the WordPress and WooCommerce has changed my life, I would say, because I started using WordPress and WooCommerce about 10 years ago, and I realized that it's so easy to put up my own website, and it's very different from, say, Shopify and other website builder out there like Wix and so on, because with WordPress and WooCommerce you actually own your own website, you own the content itself. So compared, let's say for myself, I run WooCommerce business, right? So what happens is I'm actually making money from WooCommerce, and let's say if I were to use Shopify, and Shopify actually has the control over my business, and what happens is, if maybe somehow I make some mistakes in violating, let's say, their terms of service, or maybe their system kind of flag out that I'm doing something that is wrong, whether it's incorrectly, or it's maybe it might be a bug or whatever it is, and because of that they could shut down my website and affect my income, right? So that's why I am very thankful for WordPress and WooCommerce. Over the years of doing e-commerce businesses, I was able to have a team of 20 people managing my businesses, and I was even able to use my business that is built from WordPress WooCommerce to actually own 2 or 3 real estates in Singapore as well. So I would say that it has really changed my life, and that's why myself, I believe Ivan has the same similar story as well as to why we are, out there sharing about WordPress and WooCommerce itself. So today I'm going to be talking about how to speed up your WordPress website. So a lot of people are not sure how to speed up their website, and it's very important because just 1 second of website improvement can increase your conversions for mobile users. This is actually from Google itself, right? So they say that just increasing the speed by reducing the load time by 1 second is going to increase your conversions by 27%. And with 70% of shoppers buying on mobile devices, so you can see that it's talking a lot about e-commerce wise, but even for, let's say, a lead generation website, let's say you sell a service or whatever it is on your website, maybe let's say pet grooming service, just increasing the speed is going to help you to increase the conversions to get more leads on your website as well, right? So 1 second site speed improvement can increase your mobile conversions by up to 27%, right? So and I just earlier this year, I actually have a client. So I mean, on top of just running e-commerce businesses, I also help some clients who they also run their own WooCommerce stores, and this client actually happens to be, he runs a business in Hong Kong as well. And just in June, I helped him to revamp his website, increasing the speed, and he was actually able to improve his revenue by 60%. Right, so 60%, just increasing the speed. And I didn't even do any changes to the design, anything like that. And his revenue has increased by 60%, right? Because the speed increase does not just helps with the conversions, but it also help his website at least to move up in the Google SEO, right? So it brought in more traffic as well, and then more conversions for his business, right? So and the reason why is because Core Web Vitals is a factor in SEO. So so what happens is that Google actually measures how your website performs when visitors visit your website. What kind of experience are they getting, right? So if you have a fast loading website, it is likely that your website would rank higher in the search results. Okay, and it's based on 3 different factors. The first one is the largest contentful page. Second is first input delay. Third is cumulative shift, right? And this talk, I'm going to be sharing more about how to improve your largest contentful pane and first input delay, right? So the important metrics, I would say that when it comes to looking at your site speed, is to look at these 2 different metrics. The first one is called the time to first byte, and also the largest contentful pane, which is also one of the Core Web Vitals factors, right? So time to first byte is how fast your browser starts to load the web page. So what happens is, let's say you key in a website. So for example, hdcourse.com, right? You go to hdcourse.com, Ivan's website, and you type in on the browser hdcourse.com, and you press enter. How long does it take before your browser starts to load the first the website itself, right? So if you have a slow time to first byte, that means once you press on enter, it takes maybe, let's say, 1 second before it starts to load the website. That means that your website has a very poor web hosting, or it doesn't have any page caching, or your database is bloated. So I'm going to be sharing how to fix some of this issue later. And then the next one is slow largest contentful pane, right? So largest contentful pane means that, let's say you were to open up a website, whatever appears in your screen, okay, that if the whatever appears on your screen is fully loaded, then that is the largest contentful pane. Whatever that loads below the page, right, below whatever your browser can see, that's not important, because users are not going to interact with that yet. They just want to see what the web page fully loaded in their point of view, right? So a slow largest contentful pane means that you're not loading the critical assets first. Let's say your images or your text that's supposed to be appearing above, we call it above the fold. Okay, so it's called above the fold because let's say if you buy a newspaper, right, from the newsstand, and usually the large newspaper is being folded into half. So what we just see whatever the headline is. So whatever is above the fold, right, that means that you want to make sure that you load whatever is above the fold, right? So maybe you have some heavy elements such as video, you have an autoplay video on that's in the the above the fold, and maybe you have some dynamic elements, right? So for example, this is very common in e-commerce websites where we have this mini cart on maybe on the top right of the page itself. And when you add items to the cart, what happens is that WordPress or WooCommerce has to pull out that information, and that takes some time. So that can slow down the speed. Okay, so some other things to note would be, how big is your page size, and how many page requests you have, and if whether certain elements are taking a long time to load. So you may need to go deep and optimize some of those items itself. So I would say page size wise, it is highly recommended that most of your page, they are, let's say, I think it's 500 KB and below, right? But sometimes your website may have more content and it can be much larger. So I would say that generally I try to keep my my page sizes below 1 MB, right? 1 MB. So how you can look up this information, right, is you can actually use gtmetrics.com, right? So you can sign up a free account, and I think they give you about 50 requests per month. So that means you can scan your website, scan a particular web page 50 up to 50 times a month. So and it will tell you what's your page size, what's your page request. But of course, there are other tools that do that as well. You want to sign up a free account because they have a Hong Kong data center for you to test, right? So if your business is targeted towards Hong Kongers, then GT Metrics can give you a much better, a much clearer real world insight, right? Because let's say if someone is from US were to visit your website, it's going to be slower than someone from Hong Kong who were to visit your website, right? So it will tell you your page size, page request, and it will also give you the waterfall graph to take a look at and see what's slow, right? So maybe I believe I have time, so maybe we can put up some website and take a look at how how GT metrics looks like. Okay, so in general, I'll say that a good practice is try to use less plugins, right? Use less plugins, use less of different elements or blocks. So for example, if you are using I think a lot of people use Elementor. So what happens is that they build their pages with Elementor, and they add a lot of different elements like carousel. They add a video element. They add a bunch of different stuff like testimonial slider and all that. So all these different elements, right, would they would add additional page requests. They will add it might load the additional JavaScript and things like that, and that will slow down the site, right? Slow down the page itself, right? So as much as possible, you want to try and use less of different elements, okay, and reuse images and videos, because what happens that when people visit your website, okay, uh they will cache some of these content on their browser. So let's say if you were to go to web page A and it shows this particular image, and if you go to a second page and it shows the same image, right, it's likely going to load faster that way, right? And also to use good plugins, right? So plugins that are frequently updated. So whenever you go to WordPress and download a plugin, they would tell you when it was last updated, right? And you can also look at the change log of the plugin and see how often it's being updated as well. Okay, so that you have updated plugins, right? So so the 5 steps are, firstly, number 1 is caching, image optimization, CDN, and also plugin script management, and lastly is video facade, right? So last one would be for people who would put videos on their website. Okay, so and I would say that this is somewhat is organized in a manner that is, if you follow these steps, right, the first step is likely going to have a much bigger impact on your website itself, right, in terms of the speed wise. So the first one would be caching. So but of course, caching has a lot of I would say caching plugins have a lot of features as well. And I'm not really a web developer and all that. I'm a marketer, right? But I will try my best to explain it a little bit. Okay, so when it comes to caching, right? So caching, there are a couple of things that these caching plugins do, right? The first one will be, page or server-side caching, browser caching, preloading, gzip compression, minify CSS and JS, and load JS async, right? So CSS is cascading style sheets, and JS is JavaScript, right? So these are, just elements that make up your website. Okay, so page and server caching, right? So server, so what happens is that some plugins, what they'll do is they will actually store your already loaded version of your web page. So that means it's already preloaded, and what happens is that they actually save it into your server itself, right, and serve them to the visitors, right, rather than having your visitors load the web page from scratch. So that means it's already preloaded. You come to my website, I just show you the already loaded web page. So that's much faster than having to load every single item in the web page itself, right? So that's page or server side caching. Okay, so next one is browser caching. So this is actually, it's similar to page caching, but the difference is that the visitor has already visited your website before, already visited those pages before, and they visit it again. It becomes faster because these elements, right, the resources like CSS, JS, fonts, etc., images, maybe they are already downloaded and stored in your browser. So when you visit the website again, it will load faster, right? So next is preloading. Okay, so some of the much advanced plugins, right? What they'll do is that, let's say you go to your website, and let's say you go to contact us, right? So when your cursor hover over the link, it actually starts to load that web page already. right? So rather than, you click in, then it starts to load, right? When you mouse over, it already starts to load the page. So this will speed up, the experience when they are visiting your website. And you can also preload some important assets in a web page. So let's say you want to have some images, above the fold, right, to start showing up first, or maybe some important, tracking scripts and things like that. You want it to load earlier, so you can use preloading, or maybe some fonts. So some of us are using, for example, Google Fonts, and it might take a bit of time to load. You can use preloading to make it a little bit faster, right? So next is gzip compression, right? So basically what gzip does is that with your web page, it is going to compress the web page itself, right, so that it's smaller, and then your browser will download this will load the web page, right? And then because it's much smaller, then it's faster. And then minify CSS and JavaScript. So this will reduce the file sizes as well. So it crunches your web page much smaller, so it loads faster, right? Then next is you can load JavaScript async, right? Async means asynchronously. So what happens is that rather than loading one script then the other script, right? We call it like sequentially, right? So it takes a longer time because it's being queued up. I load number one, then I load number two, then I load number three, right? So when it's async, I will load maybe, let's say, all three scripts together at the same time, right? So that everything loads faster that way. So when it comes to caching plugins, there are a lot of them out there. Okay. So personally for me, I use Swiss Performance from EU Image Optimizer. And I will talk a little bit about EU Image Optimizer later on as well, and why I think it's such a powerful solution for WordPress users. Next, there is also Lightspeed Cache. I also use this on certain websites as well, but you need to be using Lightspeed server, right? So a lot of WordPress hosting companies, they're actually providing Lightspeed servers today. So you can, so what happens is that you don't have to purchase any of these plugins, right? So Lightspeed Cache is actually free. So if you use a Lightspeed server, you can install the Lightspeed Cache and it will speed up your website. And I would say that Lightspeed Cache, I have used it. It is actually very, very powerful, very, very fast. Next is Breeze, but Breeze is, I believe it only works on Cloudways hosting, right? So if you're using Cloudways, then you can install Breeze as well, which does some caching as well. And there's also Swift Performance. I have used this as well. WP Rocket, I've used that as well. And then WP Optimize, W3 Total Cache, there's a lot of them, right? But if you go on to, let's say you look for the free plugins wise, right? There are, let's say, WP Fastest Cache, WP what is it, Super Cache, and all that, right? So what happens is that those free plugins, if you actually read the description, they will say that they don't actually provide the mobile caching, so which is actually very important. So you need the pro version, which can be very costly. But if you are looking for the free option, right, then I would suggest that you look at WP Optimize or W3 Total Cache, right? So I think these two are the free ones that actually provide the mobile caching as well, right? So that your mobile site would also load fast. Okay, so next is the image optimization, right? So image optimization So what happens is that most of our image files, right, they're in JPEG or PNG format. So these file sizes are actually very large. So what happens is that you can they are what we call new generation image file formats. They are in WebP and AVIF, right? AVIF file formats. In fact, I think WordPress is planning to automatically convert all your images to WebP in future releases, right? I believe so. Yeah, so they do plan to do that as well. But at the moment, you would have to use likely to use a plugin to help you with it, or you have to do it manually, which takes a lot of time, right? So generally we would use a plugin to do all that for us. So WebP images are approximately 75% the size of JPEG and PNG. But sometimes I would say that if you optimize them, they can be like 10% the size of a PNG file, right? So it really helps you to crunch down the size. So WebP would help you to save about 25% of your image size. So let's say you have a size of you have an image that is 50 KB, right? It will then become like 35 or 40 KB or so, right? And then when you make use of AVIF, it will compress to half of what WebP size is. So that means you'll be like 20 KB or even 17.5 KB. So that means that becomes very small, right? I mean, because that's just one image. If you have multiple image on your web page itself, then you will see, your web page size become very, very small. Right, so that you can reduce your image sizes. So some plugins that can do this would be Short Pixel, U Image Optimizer, WP Vivid Image Optimization, Imagify, WP Compress, WP Optimize, right? So the first one is, as I mentioned, is Short Pixel, right? So usually whatever that I put on top is the best one. So I have actually done some comparison as well between different image optimization plugins. So we've got Short Pixel, EU, and I also tested WP Compress as well. And what I realized is that Short Pixel is the most powerful one. It is able to really shrink down your images. So I would highly recommend Short Pixel if you want to look for a image optimization plugin. And in fact, let's say if you upload PDF files, Short Pixel can also compress that for you, right? So it makes your site a lot smaller. So the next one will be CDN, right? So CDN is a content delivery network. So it's a network of servers around the world that stores copies of your files. Okay, so when you visit, so let's say you upload files, let's say you upload a image onto your your WordPress server and you are using a CDN. What happens is that the file, that image actually gets placed into all the different servers around the world within the CDN network, right? So when you, let's say your website is hosted in Hong Kong, right? And then I visit the website from, let's say, the UK, right? I visit your website from the UK, so it's quite far from Hong Kong. So what happens is that I would actually load the HTML files from Hong Kong, but I can load the the videos, the images, the CSS, GS files, everything from the CDN location, right? Which could be in the UK, right? And then I'll load all those assets from the UK server, while I load the HTML files from your server directly. So that speeds up the loading speed. So I would say that if let's say if all your visitors are from Hong Kong and your web host is in Hong Kong as well, then a CDN is probably not going to help you to speed up your website. But what the CDN can do is that, because if you're using a CDN, and what happens is, let's say I'm from Hong Kong, and then I visit your website that's hosted in Hong Kong as well. I actually load the most of the assets from the CDN, right? So it actually reduces your, the resource that your server is using, right? So so when a lot of people visit your website, then it is less likely to slow down. It will not help your website to be faster to Hong Kongers, but it can help to improve the performance of your server, right? Because it uses less resource. So some CDN services, number one would be Cloudflare. So this one is a free CDN. They actually provide a free CDN. Okay, I have used it before, and I don't think that it really helps that much personally. But I personally use Bunny CDN. Right, so Buddy CDN, so you can use Buddy CDN. It's actually very, very cheap and very, very affordable, because if you don't have a super large website, you're probably going to pay like $1 or $2 a month, or probably even less, right? So I mean, depending on how much traffic you are getting and how big your website is. Right, so you're probably gonna pay like just a couple of dollars, like $1 or $2 a month. But of course, if you use Image Optimizer, right, they actually provide you with the Bunny CDN as well. So it comes as a package, so you don't have to pay extra for this. There's also StackPath CDN. Generally, I don't recommend StackPath. A lot of plugins actually use StackPath, but I don't recommend this, because StackPath, most of their locations are based in North America, so like US and Canada locations, so very, very little Asia locations, mostly North America and Europe. So if you are looking for Asian visitors, then StackPath will probably not help very much. Right, so I'll recommend Bunny CDN, which is super affordable as well. Next is ShopPixel. So ShopPixel also provides a CDN as well, but they only do images, so it doesn't it doesn't it doesn't help you to speed up your GS and CSS at all, right? So I don't recommend that as well, unless you don't have better options, right? So next is script management. Okay, so for example, a lot of people use Contact Form 7, which is a free form plugin. I think it's the most popular form plugin out there. Okay, so the issue with Contact Form 7, right? I think it's a great plugin, very easy to use, but the issue is that it actually loads it loads a GS file on every page of your website. So even if you don't have the form on the page itself, it will still load the GS file. So it will slow down your web page because you are loading additional files that is not required, right? So with script management, right, you can load these CSS and GS files conditionally, right? So that means you can say Contact Form 7 will only load on the Contact Us page, right? It will not load on other pages. So that way it will speed up the other pages of your website. So so you can use a plugin to do this, right? You can use a plugin to do this. So some plugins that can do this would be Swiss Performance, right, by EU Image Optimizer, WP Shifty, Assets Cleanup, and also free so deactivate plugins. So Swiss performance, it does caching and also the script management. WP Shifty is it's quite a new plugin that was released this year. And okay, so let me just kind of explain a little bit, right? So we talk about script management, right? So sometimes uh so you can prevent the CSS or GS files from loading, or some plugins will in fact prevent the entire plugin from loading, because so you can prevent CSS and GS files from loading, but sometimes some plugins will add like additional fonts that you have to load as well. So by using some plugins that deactivate the entire plugin, you can prevent even the fonts from loading, which can slow down your site as well. So so Swiss performance and assets cleanup, right? They only prevent the CSS or GS from loading, but FreeSol only deactivates the plugins for you. So sometimes, so for example, there's a very popular affiliate plugin called Affiliate WP, right? Which is a very powerful plugin that, a lot of affiliate marketing. If you want to promote your site via affiliate marketing, a lot of people use this plugin. So the issue with Affiliate WP is that they would load the sign up form on every page as well. So you can so you if you can't deactivate the entire plugin, because then the affiliate tracking does not work, but you can use Swiss performance or WP Shifty or access cleanup to just block the registration form from loading, right? Or the login form from loading, right? So so what happens is that with WP Shifty, it actually does both, right? So it does the script management and also the the plugin management as well. So if you sometimes need to just prevent certain scripts from loading or certain plugins from loading, you can WP Shifty is much more versatile on that compared to Assets Cleanup and FreeSol's deactivate plugin. Right. So the last one would be load video as a facade, right? So what happens is that when you put, let's say, a YouTube video or a Vimeo video on your website, it will not necessarily load the video instantly unless you autoplay the video, right? So sometimes the video can be very large, but what happens is that the video player will also slow down the site as well. So what happens is that when you, let's say, you embed a YouTube video on your page itself, it will load the thumbnail and it will load some JS and CSS file as well. Right. And then if you autoplay the video, it will load the video as well. So what happens is that by preventing the video player from loading, right, you can hide it so it will not load the video player, right? So you can hide the video player behind an image, and so that you can load speed up the load time, or you can just load the video as a pop-up, right? So what happens is that a facade, right, is what it does is that it will take the thumbnail of your video and then put a the YouTube play button on it, but it's actually a picture, it's not the video player at all, right? So what happens is that only when your visitors click on the picture, it will load the video player, it will convert into a video player, right? So then that way it doesn't slow the load time, you see. Only when the user wants to play the video, then it will load the video player, right? So that's what it does. So you can use this plugin called Embed Plus, which is free, and they have this feature already built in, right? So it's a free plugin on the WordPress repository. So a lot of page builders and Gutenberg add-ons, right? So Gutenberg is the block-based page builder that comes with WordPress itself. right? So a lot of them have these features built in. So if you are using Cadence, you're using Cadence blocks, right? They have this video pop-up block, right? So it will do this as well. So when you click on the video, it will open up a pop-up and play the video, right? So for Elementor, it also has that is the video element, right? And you just need to turn on the image overlay, and it will convert into a facet as well. And next is a Thrive Architect, but I believe that most of the page builders have this like Beaver Builder and so on, right? So some additional tips as well is I know that this will be quite difficult for a lot of people to get used to, right? So let's say we're using Elementor and then I ask you to switch to Gutenberg, it can be quite difficult. But what you want to do is as much as possible, maybe on your next website that you build, you want to make use of Gutenberg instead of using other page builders, right? Because Gutenberg is native to WordPress. When you install WordPress on your web host, right, it already comes with the block editor, right? The block editor is also called Gutenberg, right? So, and it does not add additional CSS and JS that will increase the load time, right? It does not add additional CSS and JS that increases the load time. When you install a page builder, so for example, Elementor, Thrive Architect, or whatever other page builders that you use, it adds another layer where additional stuff that slows down the website. But of course, if the design of the website is very important to you, Gutenberg might not be able to serve your needs, so you may still need to stick to the page builder itself, right? So most of my websites are 100% Gutenberg, but I also have some websites that are still on Elementor itself, because of how how versatile Elementor is in terms of the design aspects. So next would be you want to use a lightweight theme that is small and has less page requests for faster loading speed, right? So there is a lot of them out there. I'm just going to name a few. Number one would be Cadence, right? So the ones that I put on top are usually the ones that I use most often, right? So Cadence, the Cadence theme, which I think is very, very powerful. And then there's also Halo Elementor, which I use as well. So most of the time when I build at Gutenberg websites, I would use Cadence. And then if I'm going to be using Elementor, I will usually stick to using Halo Elementor, because Elementor is quite heavy already. So what happens is that I use Halo Elementor because Halo Elementor is pretty much like a blank canvas. There's not a lot of features built in, so it's very, very light. So when you and Elementor is very powerful, so it will cover whatever is missing within the theme itself, right? So there's also Blocksy, GeneratePress, WP Extra. I have used WP Extra as well. It's quite fast, I would say, right? And then also what you want to do is to update to the latest PHP version. So if you're using cPanel or whatever it is, there would usually be an option for you to update your PHP version, right? So newer PHP versions usually have better speed optimizations as well, right? So I guess pretty much that's all I have to share. Let me see the time right now.
Yeah, I think it's 48. So
Okay. So I guess I'll maybe we can take some questions.
Sure. Thanks for sharing. So we got some question. So Judy has a question about enable the WP optimization plugin and W3 total cache. but the response from the Google PageSpeed is not good. So what do you recommend?
I don't know if this is the right thing to say, but it's not the thing about Google PageSpeed Insights, right? Is that we don't actually know where they are testing from, right? So that's one of the issues is that yes, it says that it's slow, but where is it testing from? So so one thing is I would say is don't be too hung up on the page speed insight score, but you want to look at like the real user experience. So after some time, right, when as your website starts to get more visitors, Google will tell you how your page, how your individual pages are, you know, are in how your users are interacting with your page itself, and you want to look at those results instead, rather than looking at what Google PageSpeed Insights tells you. You want to look at the real user experience. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, and you want to make sure that you test from, let's say like the Hong Kong location where most of your users are as well. So one thing about the real user experience as well is that um your users can come from outside of Hong Kong as well, and then that could be slower, and then it the overall average is being brought down by that as well. Yeah.
We got another question. It's about the PHP version. So basically, some of the plugins they are not compatible with the PHP 8. So do we stick with 7.4, which WordPress said they will end the support by the end of January 2023?
Yeah, the 7.4, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I would share a little bit more about my practice. Is that with the plugins, I mean, firstly, what I want to make sure is that we do a backup of the site first before we make any changes. So first thing what I'll do is I will back up my website. Then after that, I would update the PHP version, right? And then let's say if I see certain things that are broken in the website, then I will try and diagnose and see what the issue is. Let's say if it's a particular plugin that is not compatible with the latest PHP version, then I will try and see if there's alternatives, because usually what I'll say is that a lot of us, right, we tend to use the free plugins, and some of them, because they are free, right? What happens is that they are not being actively updated, because the people who are maintaining those plugins, they're not being paid, right? So generally what I tend to do is I tend to use paid plugins, right? So I will see, okay, let's say if a plugin is not compatible, then what I'll do is I'll try and see if there's alternatives to it. If that plugin that I use is not compatible, I'll try and see if I have other alternatives. Maybe I'll try and install a different one and see if it's compatible, so that I can update to the latest version, because that's much faster. But of course, if you don't have other choices, then, and that plugin, that particular feature to your website is very important, then I guess you have to stay with the current PHP version. Yeah.
Right. Great. So actually, I got a further question based on what Judy asked about. So she mentioned about the WP optimizer and the W3 total cache. So basically, some of those features they might be overlap, right?
Yes. Actually, some of the features might be overlapped, which might be an issue as well. So personally, I think W3 total cache can be quite difficult for beginners to use. Although I think it's quite powerful, because there's a lot of option in there. So personally, I would recommend that you just use WP Optimize rather than W3 total cache, because both of them are doing caching features, so they are overlapping. And I think WP Optimize is the free version is very powerful because it does the caching for you. It does I think some image optimization as well, and it also cleans up your database as well. So I think it does quite a few things. So I don't think that you need W3 total cache. So maybe you can try and deactivate W3 total cache and just enable WP optimize. Okay. And then if the speed is still poor, then I would recommend that you do a scan with GT metrics, right, and see what is look at maybe the waterfall graph or and see where the issue lies. I usually look at the page size. So like if the page size is very large, then it will give you like a pie chart and tell you which is, it give you a bar graph, sorry, and tells you which element is actually the largest on your website. Maybe it could be images, it could be JS, right? So if it's images, then you have to try and optimize your images, because if you use a good you can use Shop Pixel as well. They have free credits, right? So you can make use of that and shrink the file, the image sizes, right? And then if it's JS, then you want to look at your plugins. It's most likely that you are installing too much plugins on your website itself, or you're adding too much external scripts onto your site.
Great.
Yep.
So just further on the PHP version. So in your practice, do you normally wait for other to try the latest version, or you just try in the testing server to see how it goes?
I will usually do a backup first, and then I will update it. Yeah. And then if things...
You mean you update it as long as you got a new version, or you will wait for them a bit?
I usually try and use the latest version.
Right.
Yeah, but
right.
I mean that's me. I think it's okay to wait a little while.
Yeah.
I definitely think it's okay to wait a little while. It's just that I like to optimize for speed.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So I got an image question for you that I use Shop Pixel to optimize my site. Normally you suggest me to do like a WebP, which is quite easy to do.
Yeah.
But like 2 months ago, they introduced that they could do like AWIF, which I did in some of my site.
Yeah.
And for some reason, the image doesn't actually show up anymore.
In the Safari, right?
No, in Google Chrome, that is weird because it should be supported for that format. So I have no clue what happened, but I can only disable that format in order to run all the image. So
are you using a CDN?
I might be. That might be a reason, right?
Yeah. Then so what happens is that maybe when you converted to AVIF, right?
Yeah.
So the AVIF format is not being uploaded into the CDN.
Right.
So the CDN is still serving it tries to show the AVIF file, but the file is not
the path is actually the
WP, so the path is not there, so it's the image is broken.
Sure.
But one thing is that if you're using AVIF, right, you want to make sure that your CDN supports the AVIF format, because what happens is that Safari still does not support AVIF yet. Right, so AVIF is very, very fast, but Safari still does not support that yet. So what happens is that if you use a properly configured CDN, right, what happens is that the CDN should save the WebP and the AVIF format on the CDN.
Right.
And when someone from Safari visits your website, right, it will show the WebP version. But if someone is using Google Chrome, they will show the AVIF version.
Right, right. So they have the intelligence to switch for
Yeah, yeah.
you. Okay,
Like in I don't know how they do it, but I mean, I'm not a technical guy, right? But
right.
I think the header or whatever it is will
Sure.
specify the file format.
Sure. One
Yep.
last question. You mentioned about the G-ship compression,
Yep.
but is that actually server settings, or we could have to do in a plugin?
I don't think you can do it in the server. It's a
Right.
plugin setting, right? So, most of the plugins that I mentioned, for example, okay, so for example, if you're using Swift Performance, WP Rocket, and all that, they have a option for gzip compression. You just need to activate that.
Right.
Yeah, but some plugins, right? Because now that we are, I think WordPress over the past 2 years because of COVID, right? So a
Yeah.
lot of people are going into the development business because a lot of people are staying at home, so
Mm.
they create such solutions so that they can make money from it, right?
Yeah.
So one good thing is that a lot of the plugins today are actually moving towards in terms of caching plugins, I would say,
Right.
is that they are moving towards like you just activate it and it does everything for you.
Excellent.
Yep. So if you are a complete newbie, right, you don't know how
Yeah.
to handle all this technical stuff at all. I'm just sharing with you a little bit of the like what these plugins are actually doing.
Mhm.
But a lot of these plugins, for example, for example, Swiss Performance SWIS,
Mhm.
right? They don't give you much options in there, right?
Mm.
You just activate it. It has all those features activated for you. They just don't give you the option to do it.
Mhm.
And then I think there's another one called Rabbit Loader, which you just activate in. It just kind of scans the website, does everything for you.
Right.
So a lot of some of these plugins are moving into that direction where it's less and less technical, so that everyone can benefit from it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So thanks for sharing. I think this is about the end of the meetup. So I will see you guys in the next meetup, and hopefully we're going to have you, but probably not in person, but in
Yeah, no
Zoom.
problem.
All right. Thank
Yep.
you.
So I think what I'll do is I'll
Yeah, you can some
share
information in the chat. Yeah.
my Facebook page. So
Yeah.
this is my Facebook page right here. You can, if you have any questions, you want to reach out,
Yeah.
you can try and send me a message. I will, try and help you as much as I can.
Yeah, in person until Friday, right?
Yep.
If you got time.
Yep.
And for those who might be watching the replay, I will put Henry's Facebook link in the comments, and then you can find him if you have any question. All right.
Yep.
Thanks, guy. Have a
Thank
good
you.
day. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.